So, week one happened.
Why were we excited for this?
I don't know. Fantasy losses, favorite team losses, favorite team
We
injuries.
got 13 more weeks of this shit.
Let's talk about some stuff that happened this week. We have two trades, some blockbusters. Griff got Jake Ferguson, and for traded with James, who got Cedric Tillman and 2025 third.
That is a trade. Griff said he needed a backup tight end. He got the backup tight end.
Yeah, I do like Ferguson. I think he's could be decent there in Dallas. They obviously didn't really need him much. They kind of just killed the Giants, and that was that. So we'll see if he has a role this year. But yeah, I'd say it's fair.
Yeah, I mean Cedric Tillman,
Didn't do much.
he was slightly involved.
He was on the field in a third.
We saw him in uniform. We can confirm that he's a football player.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then the other trade, we had Jasmus and Trevor struck a deal. Trevor got some tight end depth with David Njoku. Jasmus got Noah Fant and Kendrick Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne did pretty good. 2 touchdowns on Sunday. I do think that Trevor is capitalizing. I
Yeah.
don't know if Kendrick Bourne keeps up the consistency, but if he does build a repertoire with Mac Jones, maybe you got a diamond in the rough there. Jazz was also needing a little bit of help since he
Some injuries and just some extra depth pieces, yeah.
absolutely, and I think that Trevor does get some needed tight end depth. And David Njoku, I don't think he did fantastic, but that was also due to poor weather conditions. So we'll see how going through the season if Njoku is a little bit more involved when they're passing more and not up also by like 20.
Yeah. I'll say it's a fair trade. I don't think there's like a clear side I kind of lean here. I don't think any of these guys are going to be major players on either of these teams, but you never know. Is there any other week one takeaways you had?
So Kadarius Toney sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I was editing week 1, and then I saw that, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm not excited for this anymore.
Yeah. They said he was like what, worst PFF grade by a receiver in like 6 years?
That's enough out of you. But the takeaways, I guess, for my team that were positives is Brees Hall looked really good.
Yeah.
And so did Roshan Johnson and Ken Gainwell, who were both on my bench. Any takeaways from your fantasy week? Maybe some highs and some lows?
I was very surprised with how bad tight ends are.
Yeah, this was a rough week for tight ends. Like, if I'm going to check right now, of course I thought, oh, Mark Andrews is out. Let me just go and put in Isaiah Likely instead of Cole Kmet. And then Cole Kmet got 9 points on my bench. I want to see. He's tied in 6 after a 9-point performance.
Yeah, I think there was like 4 that broke double digits. They were horrible. Obviously, no Andrews, no Kelsey, 2 of the main guys at the position, but it was could be a long year for tight ends.
Yeah, at least none of us traded for a tight end, like a decent bit of draft capital for one in the offseason, like pretty early on. At least that's good.
I was also surprised. A-Chain.
Healthy scratch?
Yeah, healthy scratch.
That was interesting decision. I thought he'd be a little bit more involved, but maybe McDaniels was like, hey, I like Mostert.
Yeah, but now Mostert is injured, probably going to be out this week. So we'll see what his role is there. Also, Rashad Penny, another healthy scratch. Also, Gainwell now out this week, so we'll see how they kind of get involved.
Also, like, why did the Eagles trade for DeAndre Swift?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe for this Thursday night.
Maybe just this Thursday. But right now, Adam, you are looking like a genius with your trade. After one week, of
After
course.
1 week, I think we could call it official. I won the trade.
Yeah.
The obviously Aaron Rodgers is dead, as am I. Me and my dad kind of predicted it all off season. We're like, yeah, he's just gonna get hurt. We've been.
Did you think it was going to be that quick?
No, but a little bit better, a little bit happier that it was
I'm pretty sure there was a FanDuel promotion where it was like
get a yard,
get over 0.5
yeah,
yards.
underdog one, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like
He didn't.
he didn't.
Yeah, that obviously is sad. As a Jets fan, you just expect this by now, so that's what we were expecting. Only positive is we don't give the Packers a first now.
Yeah.
Not going to play 65% of snaps,
Now
so
you
it
can
would
tank
have
for
been
Caleb.
better than if he played 11 weeks and they looked promising, and then he got hurt right before the playoffs, and then we didn't, and then I was sad.
Just ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, just get hurt right away. Literally 4 plays into his career. Obviously Dobbins too. That one's
That was
it's sad.
it is like
He's
we joke about him being injury prone and stuff, but like I genuinely wanted to see like, hey, maybe like the Ravens have a running back. It seems like they've kind of been in purgatory with that over the last few years. But now we get to go and take a dip into the Melvin Gordon well.
yeah. The ACL and basically like his whole knee, then banged up when he came back. Still looked good while he was like limping on his runs, and then now to an Achilles. Like, career's basically shot.
Yeah.
Steve, I guess, knew.
Yes. What did Steve know?
Got like a first and some more for him.
Yeah.
Evan, like you can't predict an injury, but that's a trade that hurts looking back at it. Don't
Absolutely.
know what Dobbins' value will kind of ever be again.
We will have to see there. I also think that like just some sock league like takeaways. Despite Dobbins going down pretty early, Evan's team still put up a very decent showing. He had a win against Jasmus. Zach and Trevor probably matchup of the week, I'd say. 3-point game. If Deuce Vaughn had a drive earlier, who knows what would have happened.
It's also shocking how many people had 0 points this week.
Yeah.
And not like, oh, this guy had 0. It was like
T. Higgins,
Drake London, Goddard.
like
Pretty big names putting up zeros.
yeah. Week 1 is probably the most like unpredictable fantasy because you're gonna have guys that maybe they coming off an injury didn't really go in camp or decided to sit out preseason. It's like, well, I'll get ready week 1.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think it's also a sign for us week 1 stinkers like me and you that it's just week 1, long season.
Yeah. So a lot of hamstring injuries.
Yeah, I don't like that.
A lot.
Yeah, that was another thing that kind of sunk me was Christian Watson just magically getting an injured hamstring.
Yeah, there was been a lot of hammies so far. But and any other thoughts? Should we dive into power rankings?
I think we should dive into power rankings. I think I'll get a lot of my thoughts out there.
Sounds good.
But I absolutely agree.
All right, let's dive right into the power rankings. We're gonna start at obviously at the bottom, number 12, with James. Got James
Wow.
at 12.
I thought for sure it would be me.
No.
That's where I did a little thing. I literally just typed up 12 names on a list based on like thoughts, and I was like, man, I suck.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with James. He had a bad week.
Yeah.
75 points, barely higher than you.
The aforementioned Drake London putting up a
0.
goose egg.
And the Falcons won, so Arthur Smith's going to be like, yeah, this is actually a good strategy to never throw the ball to receivers or anything, and basically just be bad. I mean, Dameon Pierce, I think, coming into the offseason, they're like, wow, he's going to be like a true workhorse, 3-down back. He played 45% of snaps, got taken off basically for every 3rd down. Not a great sign for him. Madison was okay. Debo was good. Dalvin didn't look great. Got more work than Brees, but didn't really look great. And, like, you dive into the bench, no one stood out at all. I feel like his bench maybe had 20 points as a total.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys on there where I'm just kind of not sold on the bench. I mean, McCole Hardman, I believe, wasn't playing. He was listed as out.
No, he played. He just played one kickoff snap.
That's not ideal. I'll say it. Hodgins had as many fumbles as receptions, which you would hope would be 0, but it was actually 1.
It just was a very ugly week, and I don't really see any bright spots. And even like the players where it's like, I think Drake London will bounce back, but I don't think it'll be a ton, just because Arthur Smith hates football.
Yeah,
I think he will obviously do better than 75 points a week, but I don't have the most confidence in this team, and that's why he comes in at 12.
Yeah, rough week, and I'm right there with you, James. I'm gonna go with I'm next. Like let's just spoil that.
We'll go right into 11 with you.
Yeah, like I didn't go up or down. I'm still 11, which is better than I thought I was gonna be. But
you were 10 going into this.
Never mind. I hate my life.
You went down.
I went down. I need the motivation.
I thought you had some bright spots, which is why I had you ahead of James. Zay Flowers had 10 targets, 9 catches. I do think a lot of them were kind of manufactured of like screens and designed plays for him kind of, but that's good to see out of a rookie receiver. Brees obviously kind of touched on, looked very good in his first game back. I think even got maybe a little bit more usage than we kind of figured. I think he does take kind of a hit with Rodgers being out, just because it's going to be like last year. Oh, they're going to run the ball. They can't throw the ball with Zach Wilson. So that makes it a little bit tougher. But I mean, Zach Wilson basically played the whole game anyway. And plus, on your bench, like Gainwell, obviously he's hurt and going to be out for this week, but got basically all the work there in Philly.
Yeah.
Didn't do much with it, but
that's my counter argument, is like he got a lot of work and it can turn into something, but he didn't really do much. He's out this week with a rib injury.
Yeah. I thought Roshan looked really good. Running people over, was targeted heavily out of the backfield. Again, you didn't have a good week. A lot of players didn't do much.
Christian Watson being out didn't help either.
Exactly. So, but I just think you have a few more bright spots than James did in this week 1, where going into next week, I could be like, oh, Brian showed up a little bit more. Number 10, Matt.
I also had Matt at 10. My first two went me, James, instead of James, me. So.
Yeah. Matt could have easily won this game if he started Algier, who put up 24. I feel like everybody was like, man, it's going to be the Bijan show. He still had a great week, but Algier still held his own and had his. Again, Arthur Smith only cares about running backs, so...
But I also don't blame Matt for not starting him. I don't think you look at that.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at his lineup, I don't think there's a guy where, like, even I would say, yeah, I'll start Tyler Algier over, like, any of them.
Yeah, I mean, Rashid Shaheed had a huge week. Tutu Atwell had a huge week. Hayden Hurst did good. Like, he actually had a lot of solid performances. I think it's tough. He's in that boat of he has so many okay guys. Which okay guys are going to be good this week? But, I mean, if he hits on this lineup, he's putting up well over 100 points. I think he's, not necessarily a good team, but
Definitely
also
better than
not
the Matt
horrible.
of years past.
He had his max possible points were 138, which would have been good for 5th in the league. So obviously, if you could pick the right guys to play, I think Matt could actually do okay moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's time that we see a decent Matt team. It's been far too long.
Yeah. Coming in at 9, I have Steve.
Also, agree with you there.
Steve pulled out the win, kind of carried by Jacoby Myers.
That made me eat my words. I think back in the offseason, that trade happened. I kind of was like,
Yeah, you were big on Renfro, but I was a Jacoby fan. Obviously, Dobbs too. Another very good week. I think it'll be interesting when Watson comes back and is healthy. Kind of, how does everything get split up over there? Will Dobbs take more of a backseat? Is Dobbs like the number one there? Kind of, will they all the targets kind of get spread out through the receivers and stuff? I think it's up in the air. And then I also don't think like McKinnon, who only had 1 catch for 10 yards, and Christian Kirk who only had 1 catch for 9 yards. I think they'll have better weeks in the future. Again, it's not an amazing team, but I was pleasantly surprised in the Crans Week 1 performance.
I was surprised in the Week 1 performance. I was also surprised McKinnon didn't do a lot. I thought with Kelsey being out, especially later in the year last year, McKinnon seemed to have a receiving touchdown every single game.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he wasn't utilized more.
Yeah, I was also surprised Zay Jones was playing above Christian Kirk.
Yeah, that was another surprise. Again, that was another trade that, we thought, hey, maybe James didn't get enough, and that's he made a really good deal. Calvin Ridley came back, which is something that we kind of anticipated a little bit.
Yeah, but I thought Kirk would have stayed above Zay Jones, but apparently Kirk might be the 3 option there.
Just maybe.
And same thing kind of with like Tyler Boyd and Paris Campbell. It's like the Bengals and Giants look so bad, it's hard to kind of see what they're going to do in the future.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
I'll say a pleasant surprise. In the 8 spot, I have myself.
I do agree with you there.
I thought I was going to do okay, and then everybody stopped scoring points, and that wasn't cool. Dak obviously didn't need to do much to beat the Giants.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where it's like, especially with the defense getting 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You're sitting there like, couldn't just like stop the one real quick.
Yeah, I thought Saquon was the only bright spot of the Giants' whole team.
That was a brutal watch. Like, I'm not known for having any opinion on the Giants, but I felt bad. I was like, this isn't great.
Yeah, he was the only bright spot they really had. They used him a ton on the first drive, and he was averaging like 6 a carry, and then just got down so much that you couldn't really run the ball.
Yeah, I think a poor judge of how the season's going to go. You hope the Giants aren't down by like 20 after the end of the first quarter every game.
But again, I have a lot of players that could all do okay. I feel like I'm very similar to kind of Matt's team structure. I just think mine is all the players are like kind of a little bit more consistent or a little bit better, where if I could start the right ones, I could have some good weeks, but I'm not completely sure.
I mean, Sutton and Robinson had some pretty decent performances, each getting a touchdown and doing a decent bit with the load they carried. I also think it's promising that Ramondre is still really involved in the passing game, because I think that was a big question with Zeke coming in.
Yeah.
At 12 for 25 for rushing, not great, but you're also playing a very good Eagles defense. I can understand that.
Yeah. Coming in at 7, I have Cherry.
I agree with you on that one as well.
Bijan, the prince that was promised, he delivered, and Calvin Ridley also looked like he's going to be a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I'm going to formally apologize to Cherry and every Calvin Ridley fantasy owner. I was wrong. I thought that Calvin Ridley was going to come back. I'm like, he hasn't played in 2 years. There's no way he even cracks the 14 projection. Beat it by 10. I apologize, and I take back what I said.
Obviously, going forward, I think he'll definitely keep kind of this up. Look to be Lawrence's guy, so might be in for a big year.
Yeah, just the curse he needed was me saying I don't think he was going to do that good.
He did have a few disappointing performances. Sky Moore, and
somehow did worse than Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, and Antonio Gibson, 3 carries, a catch, and a fumble. Not great, but I think he does have decent options. Hollywood Brown, I don't think is in for a monster year with Clayton Tune at QB, but you could get him in the lineup. Same thing with Bateman, who was kind of like the third option there too, but I think Cherry is a competitive team this year, kind of led by Calvin Ridley and Bijan.
Yeah.
Nico I also like too.
Nico did well.
11 targets.
The biggest concern is Rashad White. I know he's kind of supposed to be like the RB over there with Leonard Fournette now gone. But another guy who had a lot of volume and did not do much with it.
Yeah, not ideal to see. At the 6th spot, I have Jasmus.
I agree with you there as well.
Jasmus did not pull out the win. And he also might have lost Eckler to an injury. It's kind of uncertain if he's going to play yet or not, but he missed practice. He might have a high ankle sprain or a low ankle sprain. Low, he could probably play through it. High, might miss like 2 to 4 weeks. He does obviously have Josh Kelly, who would be the direct backup there and probably...
Who did pretty decent
even
in the backup role on its own.
So I think that stepping in isn't too bad, but his team was kind of carried by Eckler and Zay Jones. So if Zay Jones can keep that wide receiver 2 spot, again, I think he's possibly a playoff team with just a few kind of disappointing performances from some players he's going to expect more from going forward.
Yeah, Najee is another scenario where the Steelers, they were down immediately. You're down. Your team has 1 offensive yard. You're probably not going to see a ton of work.
Yeah.
But, this is a crossroad for Jasmus. This is the revenge season for him, or I should say the avenge season, trying to avenge for his perfect season, imperfect playoff run.
We'll see if Kendrick Bourne gets in the lineup this week, too.
Yeah,
it's a new addition.
The new addition. That's something to look out for this week.
The 5 spot, I have Evan.
Yep.
Evan pulled out the win. Obviously, the receivers look good. Waddle looked solid. Devonta Smith was heavily used. Hopkins got, again, a ton of targets.
Too bad Tannehill sucks.
Yeah, he didn't look good, but and then Waller, obviously, kind of a spot that wasn't horrible in the Giants game.
Yeah, it was very mid, but
yeah.
But even for tight ends this week, he finished tight end number 20, which if Cole Kmet was tight end 6 with 9 points, and Waller is 20 with 6.6 points.
Everybody just scored 4 to 6 points.
Yeah.
4 to 8 points. Yeah.
What the hell, dude?
Obviously, the big thing here is losing Dobbins. Again, we kind of touched on that a little bit already, but that really hurts this team's depth, especially at the RB room. Kind of leaves it with just Gibbs, who they said got a limited role in his first game ever. They were cutting back his work from nothing to whatever he got.
To barely.
But he looked great. I think if you're a coach and you see him, 7 carries for 42 yards, 2 catches for 18, we need to get this guy the ball. So I think as the year goes on, his role will expand. He'll get more involved. But I think the depth's a question. A team that could definitely use Judy coming back from injury this week.
Yeah, he does have Miles Sanders to replace Dobbins right now. My biggest question is what happens when like one of them has a bye.
Yeah.
Looking at the bench,
Even at like receiver, because then Judy goes into the flex spot. It's, I think, just questionable about when bye weeks, if he has another injury, kind of then who fills into those roles.
yeah, maybe you see Cordero Patterson come back from injury and try things, but as you mentioned last episode, he happens to be 32, and there were two running backs on the Falcons this week that looked
Better.
I hate saying good things about Falcons, but
The 4 spot, I have Trevor.
as did I.
He was definitely carried by a Tyreek Hill monster week.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. He put up 44 points, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Turns out he's still really good.
Yeah, I'll say this: he made up for T. Higgins doing fuck all.
Yeah. Again, this is a week Trevor could have won. He plays Michael Pittman. He plays Puka, who again looked ridiculous. Plays Kyron. Yeah, his team's still really good. Obviously, no Deontay for the next few weeks with the hamstring injury.
I knew it was serious when the injury wasn't preceded by a drop or a fumble. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this, because he's the king of he drops or fumbles. Like, all right, well, I'm actually hurt. So,
But yeah, I think the biggest surprise here and looks really good is Puka. I think while Cup's out, he'll probably have a pretty big role. Targeted 15 times, over 100 in your first game ever. I think it's a very good look for him, and I wonder who he starts next week with this receiver core. Will Pittman get the nod? Will Puka? Will Kyron? Kyron kind of got work over Akers, which not great for you, but good for Trevor. I think this team's still really good. Obviously, got off on the wrong foot, but I think he'll bounce back and be fine going forward.
yeah, absolutely.
3, I have Zach.
I agree with you there.
Joe Burrow sucked.
Yeah, the Bengals sucked.
Yeah, they did not do good.
But McCaffrey did really good.
Yeah,
He did
Aaron
Christian
Jones
McCaffrey things.
had a great week as well.
Even David Montgomery didn't do horrible.
Yeah, and then Mike Evans. I was surprised. I thought with Baker there, I didn't think Mike Evans would do as good, but he still was targeted 10 times, 6 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown. I think that's a very solid week from him, and I'm very happy if I'm Zach, if that's kind of what the season looks like. So, obviously, Zach's good.
Yeah,
He won the championship last year.
The one outside of Burrow, the other dull spot was Kittle. But another one where they're not going to be passing the ball because they're up 30-0, and they're going to be just even if they do pass, it's like checkdowns to McCaffrey or Debo. The only concerning thing is the bench outside of like Josh Reynolds and Hunter Henry wasn't fantastic.
Yeah.
And I also think that Greg Dulcich is going to be out for a little bit. So
Yeah, he does also have some concerns a little bit. Devontae Adams, his foot, and I think Aaron Jones' hamstring, both questionable this week. I think, again, this is a team that going into the season, we were kind of worried about, can this team stay healthy and get through the whole season? If he has a starting lineup, he's going to be tough to beat. Already starting to see some questionables pop up. Will he be able to make it through?
yeah,
The 2 spot, I have Griff.
I had Ethan here.
I thought Griff obviously had a really good week. Put up
One of the few.
Put up the most points this week.
Even with Josh Allen blowing chunks.
Yeah, Josh Allen looked really bad. But Pollard looked good. Justin Jefferson, he's still Justin Jefferson. Amon-Ra looked good. Ayuk went crazy. Like, and he did this all without his starting tight end, Mark Andrews, who will probably only make this team better going forward. I think, he's one of the guys where you hang your hat up after week one and go, football's great. And I think there was really only two teams that say that after the first week of the season.
Yeah.
And we could just go right into the number one, Ethan.
Yeah, like I said, I had it reversed.
I think, Ethan, it's a lot of the same. Diggs had a really good week. ETN had a really good week. Olave targeted a ton, had a really good week.
Chase was like the one bright spot from the Bengals.
Yeah, and he will obviously have better weeks than this. You also, similar to Griff, did this without his starting tight end, who's the best tight end in football when he plays. Seems like he could be back as soon as this week. If you add 20 points instead of 7 points in that tight end position, it just makes this team really hard to beat. And I think he's gonna, obviously, has been one of the favorites for all of the offseason, and he did nothing to kind of sway me from that in week one.
Well, I think that was power rankings. Let's head on over to matchup previews. And we are back with matchup previews, the new format. Let's see how we did. Adam, tell the folks what happened.
We both went 2-1 with our picks.
But that doesn't matter this year.
True. Well, it kind of does. You want to still pick the right teams.
You do, but the record's at the end-all, be-all. What was it in points?
You have 9.1. I have 8.5.
You can see here.
You have the early lead.
Here.
So, but that does mean that I get to pick first.
Who are you going with?
I'm gonna go with Zach to beat James.
Okay. How many points did you get there?
I'd get 4 points.
4 points total. So, looking at their matchup history, pretty one-sided. Zach is 2-4 all-time against James. Negative 59.7 point differential.
Zach has won 2 out of the last 3, though.
He has.
So I'm thinking that he keeps that up. Obviously, was pretty disappointed in James in week 1. So Zach had a good showing. I think he's gonna, keep that up.
Yeah, looking ahead at this matchup, Zach is still kind of healthy, or is healthy. James, I think he's going to do better than last week, but I don't think he can compete with the weaponry on Zach's team. So if I was in your shoes, I'd probably agree.
Yeah, it is still early to kind of know what defenses are good against what. Like, yeah, the Jets, the 49ers, solid defenses, but it's hard to be like, oh, wow, it says Pittsburgh has a tough matchup against Cleveland or something when it's kind of going off of like 1 week. So it's hard to really trust like what Sleeper says the hard/easy matchups are. But yeah, I think Burrow has a big bounce back week. I think CeeDee Lamb might not struggle a little bit against the Jets, but I think they might also just win by a lot because Zach Wilson. But yeah, I think McCaffrey has another good week. And James played some uninspired football week 1, and I don't know if they're going to bounce back.
Yeah, I don't. For James, I do like Mahomes versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense looked very mortal against Indianapolis, trotting out a rookie. But Madison didn't play well against Tampa. And Philly is arguably a tougher defense to run against. So I don't know if he's going to get the 12.1 he's projected for. Dameon Pierce against Indianapolis. We'll have to see how that kind of goes. Don't hate Debo versus the Rams. Pickens, we kind of got to see a Pittsburgh offense that isn't just Matt Canada to death.
Yeah.
I still like Pickens. Schultz is kind of...
I think the other question marks here too are like Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones are questionable. Plus Brandon Cooks is questionable. Will these guys play or not? I think if Adams and Aaron Jones are out, I think my pick will look a little bit worse. It'll be a lot closer of a game, but I think Zach handles this easily.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
Who are you going with?
My pick, I am picking the Devil Rays to beat wide receiver U to get 5.2 points. I think that is a great value pick. Griffin obviously put up big numbers week one, most in the league. I think he rides that hot streak. Looking at it, I think Allen bounces back against a Raiders defense that I think is not great. No Gainwell means that Swift's probably going to get some action, and Minnesota's defense not really ideal. The Seahawks allowed 100 yards to Puka Nakau, wherever you pronounce that. Amon-Ra St. Brown might go for 80
Yeah, I think this
points.
probably like matchup of the week. I think it'll be
Absolutely, yeah.
very good. The fun fact here is they've played each other twice every year besides 2021, and each year they've played twice. They've split 1-1-1. And this year they also are playing twice this year, so I wonder if they're going to split again this year. Both two really good teams, so I could definitely see that happening.
And I'm also picking against the wide receiver U slow start to the season. Not saying that his team's bad by any means, and I could definitely see Trevor winning this one and still running this league. But I think I'm taking the value with Griffin. The only kind of downside is we'll see how Jefferson does versus Darius Slay. I don't think he's going to do terrible. I don't know if he's going to put up the same numbers as last week. Maybe he gets in the end zone, still pads those numbers.
Now we want to talk about value.
I know it's coming.
I'm taking Matt to beat Jasmus for 6.3 points.
Really?
Yep. Let's get risky. Matt for 6.3.
Adam is
points.
making a big move this week.
Yep. I mean, Jasmus doesn't have Cup. He might not have Eckler now. He'll have the backup, but the backup's not Eckler. I said it earlier. If Matt said is the best lineup, he would have finished like 5th in the most points in the league. I think Matt... Basically, I still think Jasmus wins in my brain, but I think this should be a lot closer than what the projection has it. So, I'm thinking Matt's 37 should be more in the 40s. I like some of his matchups too. I think Algier could have another big week against Green Bay. Again, you talked about how like if the Chiefs are passing, maybe Rashee Rice catches a touchdown again. Some of these guys had huge weeks last week. And I think I'm just kind of a little nervous about Jasmus, James Conner with the calf, Cup out, Eckler out. Will Zay Jones still be the wide receiver 2 there? Kind of. I think Terry and Amari will probably have bigger weeks, probably Najee too. So not my most confident pick, but I thought it would be a fun one to go with. Jasmus is 6-1 all time with over 200 point differential and on a 4-game win streak. And the last time they played, he won by 118 points. I think a 118 point defeat isn't sitting well with Matt. And he comes back.
Very well could happen. I'm going to take another value pick here. I don't think it's going to happen, but it very well could. Adam, I'm picking you against Evan for 5.7 points. You're at 43% right now. We take a look at that history between you and Evan. I should have prepped this.
The funniest thing about this is I've only beat Evan on week 6s. I'm 3-2
I'd
all
like to
time.
rescind my pick.
And I've beat him 3 times on week 6.
That is
if
true.
If we faced any other week, he's got me. This is not week 6. I should have had that in the schedule.
You You do have the point differential on him at 62.08, 3-2 all time, as you said. My reasoning for this is I like Saquon versus Arizona. I don't think they're a very good team. I think that Ramondre bounces back this week. They're going to be in New England. Hopefully there's not a hurricane. If the hurricane hits New England, then I look like an idiot. But I also like Burks against the Chargers, who couldn't seem to, stop a nosebleed last week. I also think that Goddard bounces back and gets points this week, which is always a good thing. And also Brian Robinson looked good last week too. I think he's going to get more than his projected 9 points. I know Denver's defense is considered decent, but...
Yeah, I think I definitely have a shot here. I probably would have picked myself with my next pick. Maybe I should have done that here, but who knows? I think the main thing here, you look at Evans' team, a lot of questionables on there. Does Judy play? Is Waller limited at all? Hopkins not practicing. Waddle's been dealing with injury. I think they'll all probably play besides maybe Judy, who could miss another week. But even if they all play, they're probably not all at 100%. Granted, they'll probably all go off and destroy me. But I think there's a chance where they're playing hampered, injured. They might rely on some other targets on the team and not have as big of weeks as they can. And I think I could pull out the win. I think it'll be a really close matchup.
Yeah, I think this is a fair projection. I think it could be a little closer. If I was a gambling man, I would say Evan, but I also do like the situations that your players are in, and obviously even Waddle questionable now to play. So a lot of questions heading into this week.
And then my last pick, I'll just do what I did last time and take Ethan, who I think is the best team in the league, and just try to lock up some points against Cherry. It would be for 3.6 points. Then I'll make you choose between your own matchup.
Yeah.
But I think we look here. I think Bijan could probably go nuts. But I think Chase bounces back in a big way. I think Diggs has another solid week. I think Keenan has a big week. There's been rumblings of Travis Kelce back limited in practice. If he plays and goes, that really just pushes this even more over the edge. Durham Smythe is Cherry's tight end.
Not great.
He had 7 points, but it's Durham Smythe. I just think that it's Ethan and it's Cherry. Ethan's just the better team, so I'm going to roll with them. And again, just try to guarantee some points with my map pick.
And a fun fact that I'm noticing here on the records spreadsheet is that they are 2-2 against each other. Ethan is down 78 points, but every time they've played, the winning team breaks 125, and the losing team does not get over 100.
Yeah, they've all been blowouts. Closest game being 37.5 points.
Yeah.
I think the trend continues. I have Cherry by blowout.
Or Ethan by blowout, you mean.
Ethan by blowout.
Yeah.
Cherry getting blown out. I read the name on your screen as it walked by and I said it. Ethan by blowout.
All right, I got a choice here.
Actually, this will probably be one of their closer games, but
I have a decision to make here. Do I go against my own brand, or do I curse myself? I got a lot of question marks, but does Steve's do I crack 88?
the only 2 good players on Steve's team from last week are also questionable, in Dobbs and Jacoby.
Myers. And Jacoby got killed.
Yeah,
He got murdered.
Yeah, that wasn't a great watch.
You know what? I gotta support the turnaround. It might be the Cran's year, but the Cran, we're gonna have to experience some hiccups. I'm taking the War Eagles here for 4.6 points. I think Hurts is a big bounce back week tomorrow night, or when you're seeing this, it probably already happened, so you can clown me in the comments section. But tomorrow night against Minnesota, again, a defense that did not look good against a Baker Mayfield led team. I think a Jalen Hurts led team is going to do very well. I think that Breece Hall is going to get more opportunity. Who knows? Maybe Cam Akers decides to try against San Francisco. Not a fan of that one, but Cincinnati didn't look great, and Zay Flowers coming to town. Gabe Davis bounced back against the Raiders. Hopefully Christian Watson plays. I didn't see a ton of stuff out of Atlanta's defense.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he didn't practice today, but who knows? I think if Watson plays, I think you're much more likely to win. I think if he doesn't, I think it'll be a close game. You look at your history against Steve, you're 2-0. Both games have been close. No one's really broke over 110 points in any of your games. I expect it to be the same. I expect it to be muddy, field goals only type game from you two.
Yeah.
If one of you breaks 100, it probably looks good, and I think you are the team more likely to break 100, and I also would have had you, so I think it's I agree.
Yeah. Steve has been teasing some all-in moves this week. We'll see if he does the opposite of what he did last year.
Yeah, last year, always great watching Steve. Had a very good team. Lost like 2 close games.
And then just sold.
Sold immediately. I wonder if this year is the opposite of a bad team winning 2 early games and then going for it.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. That was matchup previews, and I think that's the episode, right?
That shall do it.
We got a quick one, but I think this was one of our more informational ones. We didn't ramble too much. We didn't not say things. But
it would be a bad episode if we did not say things.
That's true. So I thank you guys for watching. If you had watched 5 minutes, if you just watched to find your team, or if you watched the whole thing, which not a lot of you do, because I can look at how much playback time we have, and it's not great. But thank you anyways.
Hopefully week 2 is better than week 1.
Yeah. We will see you next week.